When people of faith and conscience stay silent in the face of oppression, we are all made less whole. When people of faith and conscience speak out against that which violates the sacred in its own name, we have the power to stay the hand of sin. Transgender, non-binary, and intersex people are vulnerable today. Our faiths, our theologies, and our practices of prophetic witness call on us to say with one voice to transgender people among us, "You are holy, you are sacred, we love you, we support you, and we will protect you." Though past experiences in my life have made me leery of religion, in particular the Southern Baptist style of Christianity, I still experience the need for spirituality and community, and I have found that in the Unitarian Universalist Church. The recently released statement of support for transgender people is one of the many reasons I have found myself attending a church again. Recently, I had the pleasure of talking with two UU clergy members about what it means to be a welcoming community of faith, and how the Unitarian faith became that community for me. I would like for you all to introduce yourselves to the camera, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, Trek, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
My name is Trek Reef. I am the intern minister at the First Parish Church of Stowe and Acton, a Unitarian Universalist congregation in Stowe, Massachusetts.
And Stephanie.
And I am Stephanie Trudell, and I am the contracted lay minister at First Church Unitarian Universalist in Leominster, Massachusetts.
I think my first question to you all is, when there was a statement released recently, the very last line of this statement said, "We will protect you." I teared up when I read that, because it feels like a lot of trans people feel like we have to protect ourselves. Like we have to go within our own community, we have to use each other to protect us, and to know that there are religious organizations, that there are faiths out there that are willing to do that is huge. When you all read this statement from your own organization, how did that impact you? Was it a surprise? Was it like, yes? Or what did that feel like?
For me, it was so affirming, and it really reminded me why I am a part of the Unitarian Universalist community and why I've chosen to be a member of that religion, is because they recognize that our transgender siblings need to hear that we will protect them, and those of us who are in a position to do the protecting need to be reminded that that's our role. So I was very pleased that the UUA came out with that statement, and I was very happy to sign on.
And I don't think I'm surprised. It took a long time for Unitarian Universalism to get to the point where it was LGB accepting, and then LGBT accepting, and then LGBTQIA accepting, and that was a journey I think a lot of religions have taken in recent years. But I'm not surprised that we took that journey, and I'm not surprised that we ended up being at the forefront of that journey. The symbol of our faith is the flaming chalice. And the flaming chalice didn't get lit in a Unitarian Universalist church until the Liberal Religious Youth, which was our youth group organization in the 1960s, said we should light this thing in our ceremony because of what it symbolizes. And what it symbolized is this: the Unitarian Service Committee during World War II used the flaming chalice as a symbol. They needed a symbol to help fake documents, to help get Jews and others out of Nazi Germany, to convert them to our religion, essentially, but without using a cross that would make people feel uncomfortable. And this flaming chalice became the symbol. If you saw the symbol, you knew that this was a safe person, these were safe people, this was a safe place. And so we continue to light the chalice now because we are saying that our places of worship are brave spaces for people to be, that it may not be safe to gather together, but together we are protecting one another. And being in a faith that not only says, yes, be who you are, but actually, and not only affirms that, but celebrates those differences. It has to be one of the most beautiful gifts that we have in this world, to have a faith like this. And I know it gets into a little bit of exceptionalism when I talk about it like that, but it is. It's this this beautiful space where people can bring their whole selves, their whole holy and sacred selves.
For me, the holy aspect of it is something that I really struggled with, because as I've mentioned, my upbringing told me that in fact I am unholy. And there's still people out there that very much see that, and there's other people out there that are like, oh look, we can twist people's thinking about the transgender community right now and make them also think that they are unholy, and then we can run roughshod all over them and we can gain the power that we want. Because I really think that what's happening is we're the scapegoat right now that allows people in power to gain more power and to secretly milk our country out of all of its money. That's
right.
kind of what it feels like to me. It's like, look, you better be careful around these trans people because they are the dangerous ones. But meanwhile, they're over here doing all kinds of quote unquote ungodly things.
Actually dangerous things.
Dangerous things, yes. And I know that I keep hearing you all talk about you're going to basically seminary right now. Is it called seminary?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're all in seminary right now to really hone your skills to be the leaders that our society needs, that I need, that all kinds of people need. Like we as a society, we look up to our ministers and our pastors. Like that's just part of it. You all hold an esteemed place in society, kind of like me as a teacher. I used to hold an esteemed place in society. That seems to be slowly being stripped away also. But the power of the pulpit, as I like to call it, is still very much active. And this seminary that you're going to, how are they approaching the transgender community? How are they approaching, this is what it looks like to protect them? Like, is there an actual game plan that's out there being put into motion?
I can speak from my experience at the seminary. So we both go to Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. It is one of two Unitarian Universalist seminaries in the United States. The other one is Starr King School for the Ministry in Berkeley, California. I think the most powerful thing that our seminary is doing to put its best foot forward on trans rights is the fact that I'd say a third of our students are trans and non-binary. We are producing transgender and non-binary and intersex ministers right now. I think that alone is one of the most powerful things that can be done, is to have an institution say, not only are we going to protect our trans siblings, but we're going to put you in positions of authority and power and trust in our community, because this shows the rest of the world exactly what it looks like to trust somebody, to put people in a position of trust. So I think that is the number one thing. If you are trans or non-binary, intersex, and you're coming into seminary right now, there's a lot of good scholarships there that will help get people into it. So we are also really actively recruiting. But I also know that they're training us as ministers for resisting well. In fact, I have a class coming up the 5th through the 9th, I think. It's an intensive class every day for 8 hours called Resisting Well. And it is about how we resist this moment that we're in right now, that has been crafted and co-created by a number of ill-meaning people. I want to mention Imara Jones, who has been to the United Nations, has worked incredibly well with international groups on transgender rights, was our keynote speaker at the General Assembly of Unitarian Universalist congregations this summer. And one of the things that she pointed out was that this is orchestrated going all the way back to 2015, when the Heritage Foundation brought together lesbian feminists, trans-exclusive radical feminists, as we would call them now, so straight cis women who believe that trans people don't get to have the title of woman or man, with religious conservatives who agreed with these things, with gay men who agreed with these concepts, brought them together to build this broad coalition to throw transgender people under the bus. And the fact that it comes a little bit from the queer community too was astounding to me when I heard this at the keynote. So I think it's important in noting that our school, in aligning with the values of Unitarian Universalism aligning with the values of human dignity and human worth that is inherent in each one of us, helps focus our congregations, our ministries, and our nonprofits work into supporting legislation, creating networks of chaplains who are working directly with trans people. We have the Woodlands, which was just created, which is an online transgender chaplaincy program. Some of those are students that are supported from Meadville Lombard who are working on that project. So it isn't just our school, but an integrated, interconnected, interdependent web of Unitarian Universalists who are all working together to create the brave spaces that help us create protections in our laws, protections in our congregations, protections in our communities, whatever those might look like. Protection could be something like being in a public access TV studio like BATV and knowing that you can put programming on here where the staff is supporting you.
Yep.
And those are the kinds of things that I think that what we're doing prophetically in our communities helps do. When a church like First Parish Church in Billerica, for example, or in Leominster or in Stowe, puts up a trans flag or has a trans affirming program, it can change the culture in the town itself. And that is another way that I think we are working on protecting one another. I think I've talked a lot on that if you want to pick up on that stuff.
I think you covered it pretty well.
So one thing I do want to, Stephanie, since I am a member of the church and I sit there just awestruck when you're delivering your sermon to us and you're guiding us on this spiritual journey, one of the things that it always impacts me the most is when you specifically mention that LGBTQIA people are welcome here. Like every Sunday, I feel like you say, look, you're welcome here. And that's because I'm assuming you want me to hear it as a trans person to, like, I need to be reminded because, you know, sometimes you forget you are welcome in places. And I hear you say this, and I also think that you might be saying it to any new people that are there or people that are just like, wait, I didn't know the UU Church had this stance. So I feel like that when you deliver that every day, I'm like, I sit up a little prouder, I sing a little bit louder, and your journey to become a lay minister at the Leominster Church could not be a straight line. Like nothing, I didn't become a teacher on a straight journey when I'm 5, I'm going to become a teacher. So can you kind of tell me your journey to where you became the minister of the Leominster UU?
Sure. My calling was soft and persistent, and it took me a while to figure out that it was in fact a calling. At first, I was just a very enthusiastic member of the church, and the more I got involved and the deeper I went into Unitarian Universalism and found that the values and the principles already aligned with what felt in my soul to be true, I wanted to volunteer more and I wanted to help more. And then one day I was asked to do a reading during a Christmas service. And it was about the 3 wise women. And I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. So I did that, and I was so nervous. I was shaking like a leaf, and my voice was trembling, and it felt good, though. I was like, okay, this is another way I can help. So I joined the worship committee and started helping our minister with crafting services, and I saw how it was done, and I learned how to put a service together and integrate the music and all of that stuff. And then when our minister emerita, Reverend Susan Brown, left, when she retired, I kind of picked up for her, and we were lay-led, and it was a collaborative effort, and we did that for quite some time. We had an interim minister, which is a fancy word for in between. And I ended up becoming the chair of the worship committee, and I got the title worship coordinator, which I thought was very cool. And I just found myself in this position, and I realized after some time that I had managed to get exactly where I needed to be. And it took some convincing by my dear friend Trek to finally pull the trigger and apply to seminary and really answer the call that I've been hearing for a decade now. So now I'm in seminary. I'm the contracted lay minister at First Church. Lay minister meaning I'm not yet ordained because I haven't finished seminary, but I am in a leadership position, and it is a position of authority. And it's very important to me that everyone who hears me preach understands what you just expressed, that everyone is welcome in our church. Everyone will be supported in our church. We are a church of the people and for the people. And that's one of the main tenets of my ministry, is to make sure that people's whole self is honored and celebrated and welcomed in.
And you can tell that when you're there. Like you really can. And Trek, when you all were leading the cosmic walk, we had a cosmic walk the other day, which scientifically explains the creation of our universe and the beauty that is all around us, including here on Earth. It was presented in a scientific way with a spiritual backdrop the entire time, because there is spiritualism just in science. There is something about the scientific method, understanding the world around us. And the cosmic walk journey that you all led and had people stop at milestones along the way on this cosmic walk journey. There's the formation of the universe. Here's when the Earth finally cooled down enough for there to be things living on it. And the thing that caught me the most was the closer we got to present day, the more stops there were, because there's more understanding of what's happening as we're getting closer to present day. But those gaps from 13 billion years ago, 14 billion years ago to 1 billion years ago, there might not have been any information, but there was still a lot happening. So the universe is always growing, the universe is always creating, and it's also always destroying. Like, that's part of it. It's a give and a take as the universe moves along. And I thought the name Cosmic Walk was just perfect for what was happening. And so I'd kind of like to just really quickly tap into what the heck brought you to this idea of, like, let's do a cosmic walk and let's talk about the universe from a scientific method, because people can't understand that spirituality and science can go hand in hand.
Well, before Trek gives a wonderful, well thought out explanation, because this is his jam, and I'm just
More like
grateful to
jelly.
be, yeah, you're jelly. And I'm grateful to be along for the ride. But when you bring up science and spirituality, it makes me think of Universalist Maria Mitchell, who was a leading astronomer in her day in the 1800s. And she vehemently expressed that science was not a way to disprove God, it was a way to understand God in spirit. And I agree with that. And Trek can give you the details on the origins of the cosmic walk and why it's part of what we do.
I discovered the cosmic walk accidentally. I am in love with Carl Sagan. If Carl Sagan could come back to life right now and Andrea wouldn't mind, I'd go live with them. So Uncle Carl, we'll just call him Uncle Carl. He's everybody's favorite uncle on TV, as far as I'm concerned. So I grew up watching the show Cosmos.
Okay.
I have never had, and I feel so blessed because of this, I have never had the separation of science and spirituality in my life. It has never been a separate thing. I have seen the trees and known the trees. I have seen the stars and I've known the stars. And it's because of this, the way that Carl Sagan communicated science to us in this holistic, I don't even think he would have used this word, holy way, this very profound way. When he said, if you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. In that same episode, he says that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. And so if we are a way for the cosmos to know itself, then we are the cosmos co-creating with itself as well. And this led me down this road to discovering two professors that I also adore, Mary Evelyn Tucker and John Grimm. I read some of their essays online, discovering Thomas Berry as a result, who's a Passionist priest, who wrote something called The New Story. He also wrote The Universe Story with Brian Swim, who's another professor. All of this is to say that because of Passionist Catholic priest of all people, Thomas Berry, and his work with The New Story, a nun by the name of Sister Miriam Therese McGillis at Genesis Farm in the 1980s said, we need something like the Stations of the Cross that puts you in the life and passion of Christ, but for the universe. We need something like that for the universe. And so she created this 21-station labyrinth journey at Genesis Farm, where you could go all the way to the center and come out, and there's stones that show how many billions of years ago or millions of years ago each thing is. And as you're walking it, you're having this spiritual experience, learning the cosmic story. And the feeling you get when you walk out of that spiral, and this is true on Sunday night as well, when you walk out of that spiral, is you feel like you are the universe walking itself into the future. And there is this deep sense of deep time that you are now connected from the great flaring forth to present. In fact, the way I look at it is that, and the way it really is, that the great flaring forth never stopped. We are the continuing evolution of the universe still happening. We are living in a single energy event that started 13.7 billion years ago. So why not celebrate all of the co-creators? The drag queens and the gender non-conforming, the intersex and non-binary, our transgender folks, people who just want to have style and substance but don't want to have a gender attached to it at all. To me, creating our lives is a part of being a co-creator of the universe. So when someone who is trans transitions into who they are, the universe is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. That is part of the universe's unfolding. Who are we to stop the universe from unfolding? Shouldn't we be celebrating the unfolding of our universe? And so to me, it all ties together. I can kind of see the zeitgeist of the universe in a way.
Okay.
And I think that is what called me into the ministry, is seeing that all of what we're doing in our lives is a result of this great flaring forth that is completely impossibly convenient for all of us to suddenly be here. How beautiful.
My first degree, I have a master's in education for my teaching degree, but my first degree ever is a bachelor's of science in forestry. And when I first went into my forestry degree, people were teaching forestry as a monetary means. You've got to learn how many yards of lumber you have out here so you can decide, is it time to cut it or is it time to not cut it? Is it time to harvest? Which trees are we going to harvest? Which ones we're going to leave behind? And that part of which ones are we going to harvest, which one are we going to leave behind, delves into the spirituality of it to me, the art of it. And the more I started working with trees, the more I understood that I'm as much a part of that tree as that tree is a part of me. That I belong here just like that tree belongs here.
That's right. And
I used to tell people all the time, and I still do tell it, one of the reasons I love going into the forest does not judge me.
That's right.
There has never been a tree that has looked down upon me. There's never been anything in nature that has looked down upon me. except my fellow humans. And I'm learning that the more authentic I become, the more clearly I see the forest, the more clearly I understand nature. And I used to really go into this scientific backdrop of why am I the way I am? And the more I tried to get the answer, the further away I got from the truth. And the truth is, I am the way that I am because that's the way the universe made me. That tree is the way that tree is because that's the way the universe made it. And I quit trying to figure out why I am who I am and just accepted I am who I am. I belong in this universe. I'm a part of this universe, and I am a creation of this universe. And once I reached that understanding, it helped me to go back to the Unitarian Church because I'm like, wait, they believe in science. They believe that, okay, this didn't just happen. Like, and pardon me, folks, the Bible is an amazing book, full of lessons. But it is also been used, handpicked, cherry-picked, to oppress people and to uplift other people. And my favorite stories in the Bible are the ones that are unexplainable. It's like, what the heck just happened? Because that's how I feel. I am unexplainable. I am Kelly Schutzberg. That's it. And the UU Church provides that combination of science through the cosmic walk and all the other ways. But the cosmic walk, I like that you said that it was a Catholic nun that was like, let's do this, because I feel like right now our community, the queer community, needs more than just the UU Church to help us. I feel like there needs to be a coalition of different faiths that are fighting for us. Is something like that happening, Stephanie? Is there a big interfaith push of love and kindness towards all that you're seeing or know of?
I think there is. I think that there are quite a few other religious movements that are catching up to where Unitarian Universalists have been for a moment. And I'm very pleased to see that. And one of the clearest examples is in the statement that the UUA recently put out, and the other faith leaders that have signed on to it. I believe there are 11 total faiths and denominations represented.
I think it's more than that now, if I remember seeing the latest statistic. I mean, there's Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism, a number of Muslim groups, some Sufi groups.
The UCCs.
The UCC, African Methodist Episcopal Church. It's a huge list. And 34% of the signers are clergy. And one of the things I really like about it is that it was written by Sophia Betancourt, who's the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And I think this shows a little bit of our commitment to pluralism, that all religions have some bit of the truth. And I think it makes us particularly well suited for interfaith work. Is that she wrote this. She's our first openly queer person of color who is a woman to be president of the UUA. And I think it's not lost on me that it is a queer woman who is writing this document, who is saying, I know, and we are going to do something about this. And so her being able to reach out to all those faiths, I mean, it's incredible.
I mean, it really is, because it takes a village. It took a village to raise me. Like, I'm going to be honest about it. It took people taking care of me when I didn't know how to take care of myself. And I called them angels plopping into my lap right when I needed an angel. And the same thing happens for other trans and queer people and all people. People need other people. Like, we are not just a little thing sitting over here by ourselves. We are part of a community that is always actively, whether we like to admit it or not, seeking other community. And one of the things that I do like about the UU Church is I'm not coerced to think like everybody else. That's huge. I mean, the plurality of it all is just awe-inspiring to me. It's kind of like when I go to the local market basket grocery shopping. I'm liable to hear 10, 11, 12 different languages. And I'm like, that doesn't scare me, that emboldens me. it makes me feel proud to be part of a community that is so welcoming that everybody can come here. And the history of the UU Church, has it always been like that? That it's been accepting of everybody? Or was it at one point, like I don't really know the history of it per se. Is it a faith that has always been science-backed? Did it come out of, I guess, the Enlightenment period? It feels like it to me. It probably was created during the Enlightenment, but I'm not sure. This is your quiz for your
Sure.
next test, I guess. For your
Enlightenment is probably where much of it comes from. But I will go back a little bit further. I want to say late 1400s, early 1500s, there was a man by the name of Michael Servetus who was a Catholic priest in Transylvania, and he wrote I think he was Transylvanian, and he wrote a treatise called On the Errors of the Trinity, and he argued that God was one, that there was no separation. He gets burned at the stake along with
Blasphemy.
along with all of his books. But it doesn't stop the movement. So Unitarianism ends up growing in that area. Eventually, not long after that, there's a King John Sigismund. He invites a diet, a religious debate, to come forth. He will convert to the religion of whoever wins the debate. There's a Catholic, I think a Lutheran, a Calvinist, and a Unitarian. They all argue for their own faith except for the Unitarian, who argues for religious freedom instead. He says, I think you shouldn't say that there should be a faith, you shouldn't adopt any one of our faiths, and you should just say that everyone can practice whatever they want in Transylvania. And so John Sigismund says, yeah, you win the debate, and becomes a Unitarian, the first Unitarian king in Europe, and then not too long after that dies, not because of this, and Unitarianism gets banned, and it's a whole big problem. But Unitarianism grows in Transylvania. Unitarianism has this idea that there's this unity of God, that there's this oneness of God. And I think that kind of liberality in the face of this dogmatic God is this exact thing has always been part of where Unitarianism comes from. Universalists, they can go all the way back to the 1st century, to Origen, one of the early church fathers who argued that everyone is saved. And that's really what universalism is. But what we know as universalism doesn't show up until the late 1700s, mid-1700s. And these are people who believe very much that the salvation offered by Jesus is a free gift for everybody. It ends hell according to some universalists. Other universalists believe in hell still, but they believe that it's a purgatory type place where you're just purging your life so you can rejoin the spiritual thing.
okay.
But I'd say by the mid-1800s, the Unitarians and Universalists start having very similar views about social problems happening in the world. And they start working together quite a bit on abolition, on ending slavery, on abolition of subjugation of women, eventually leading to the suffragette movement. The list goes on, but by 1961, the two movements had become so humanist in their theologies. Well, if God is one and everybody is saved, then what does this look like as we move into the future, as we get new religious and scientific truths? And because both religions evolved, they became known as living traditions. And so by 1961, we became the Unitarian Universalist Association, also known as the Living Tradition, because we evolve. And at that time, in 61, we adopted 6 principles, one of which said, God is God, and that men and women are equal, and a kind of statement of faith that, without being a creed. But then 15 years later, we changed it again. And this time, it removed all of the misogynistic language, and it became even more welcoming. And then we changed it again, and we added sources that said our sources include Christian and Jewish sources. It includes Abrahamic sources. We include humanist sources and pagan sources. And again, we just evolved again. We just adopted 6 values with love at the center of those 6 values. And that is, again, showing how we continue to evolve. We used to consider ourselves Christians until 1961. And now Christians are one part of a larger pluralistic faith.
Okay.
I think that's the journey as I understand it.
One of the
Another
things-
thorough explanation.
Henry David Thoreau.
And I like it because one of the things that these discussions do with me, they always trigger thoughts inside of me. So your faith, the Unitarian Universalist faith, has been around much longer than people realize. Like, people are like, oh, this is New Age thing. It's like, no, this is not New Age thing. It's kind of like how transgender people have been around a lot longer than people realize. As long as there's been humans here, we've been here. And I feel like that the growth mindset versus the closed mindset is huge for me, because as an educator, I have a growth mindset. I want to learn everything I can, and if somehow or another something that I thought was correct is not correct, I might be sad that I was wrong, but I'm willing to accept that, oh, this is actually the truth of this. Because whether people want you to believe it or not, there are truths in the world. And some of them are being thrown to the side in order to oppress once again. And I like that you said that there's several ministers that are trans, non-binary, intersex, gender fluid, gender queer, just queer in general, because I have a hard time accepting this when I hear it, but it does kind of make sense that people come up to me and say, you know, where I come from, you are part of the divine. Like, trans people are part of the divine. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm part of the divine, but I'm also a spawn of Satan. It's like, and you know, I'm having to navigate this, but being part of the divine to me means that I'm part of fluidity and the growth mindset. That's kind of what I think of it as. It's like, okay, and there's a lot of trans people out there that aren't comfortable expressing their authentic self, but they're still just as trans as I am. There are trans people out there that have chosen to never do anything outwardly, never taken medicine, never had surgeries, never done anything, but they're still just as trans as I am. And that journey for them is a very personal journey that only they can make. And when they come to the UU Church, I feel like you all are prepared and equipped to be like, this is where you're at on your journey, this is where you're comfortable with being on your journey, you are divine. And that saves a lot of lives. That's what it does, it saves a lot of lives. Now, before meeting me, I'm assuming that you all have met other transgender people in your lives, and are most of them just through acquaintances that you know, or do you have any, is there any, I guess, we'll wrap it up with, is there one trans person that you've met in your life, you don't have to share names or anything, and you're like, wow, this person is truly somebody that I want to keep in my life, there's somebody that has inspired me, that have made me think of the world differently?
Yes. I have a friend who I'm pretty close to that I met doing, I think we met doing Speak Out Boston, actually, which is a LGBTQ speakers bureau. I'm also gay, so I've been very, I have been very involved in the queer community for some time, and she and I met. Gosh, I'm now just remembering. I'm 40. Wow. So I met her 20 years ago, and she is 30 years my senior. My God, and we ended up becoming housemates for a few years. And watching her journey in the world and her rediscovering her Judaism and saying, wait, there are queer places, there are synagogues where queerness can be celebrated, you're kidding me. and watching her come into her own in a synagogue and rejoin the Jewish community that she felt shunned from for so long was such an unfolding that I felt like if she can be doing these things in the world, I can be doing all these other things in the world too. That I can push boundaries, because if she can push these boundaries and she's just like, I'm gonna, I can do that too. And so she's someone I've really looked up to for years. I also really admire her commitment to her veganism and the way that she cares for animals and life on this planet is incredible too.
That's huge. And one of my tenets in life is, what matters to me is how I treat the earth, how I treat myself, and how I treat others. And when I say how I treat the earth, it's like all the things in the earth. And those three things really and truly guide me most of the time, and kindness.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, is there someone in your world?
Oh, there's quite a few. I have a couple of colleagues that are amazing human beings. I do have children, and so I have known a couple of transgender youth, and watching them come into their own as teenagers is especially poignant and beautiful to me, because being a teenager, you're really fighting to figure out who you are and to accept who you are. And when you add in being transgender with all the other societal pressures, it's so much, and it can be so heavy, and a lot of our kids don't make it out of that. And I'm very aware of that. And the transgender youth that I am around, the non-binary youth that I'm around, they are so fierce. They are so committed, deeply committed to fighting for one another's right to be, to exist, and to take up space, and to push back against gender roles and expectations and like, oh, you should be quiet or you should shrink. They're like, no. And I really admire that. Like, they are working so hard to not succumb to the shame that so much of society works so hard to place on them. And they just say, nope. And it emboldens me. And it helps me to know, like, all right, if these young kids can see the world for what it is, can see the bull for what it is, and stand up against it, even when they're scared, especially when they're scared, and the double being transgender and being a teenager, teenagers are not respected in our society. They're scapegoated all the time. They are too loud, they're too rowdy, they're too rude, they don't think about other people, they're selfish. Those are all things that are said about teenagers and trans people, and those are not true statements. And so the couple of transgender youth that I'm around inspire me so much, and it really is a privilege to be invited into their world.
It was meeting transgender youth that made me decide to move to Massachusetts. I'm like, wow, these kids are telling their principals, no, this is wrong how you're treating me. Their parents are telling these principals, no, this is wrong how you're treating my child. And I'm like, I want to be a part of that. And I feel like one of the things that's happening is in New England, Massachusetts, and other states in the area, community is easier to build for the trans community than it is in other parts of the country. And I'm hoping that people that are watching this can be like, wait, I can go to a Unitarian Universalist church in Knoxville, Tennessee, and go find community and be welcome in that community. I think that that's what will make this grow, this movement continue, because while we've been having this interview, another queer person was born. Like, another trans person was born, another gay man was born, another lesbian was born, another non-binary person was born. All of these people, another intersex person was born. We're not going anywhere because we're part of that creative universe.
That's right.
And I hope that, my hope is that through this interview that we've done, people get a little bit of like, wait, I want to go be a part of the Unitarian Universalist Church. And I think that you all have enlightened a lot of people today. I feel like that a lot of people who don't know where to turn now have a knowledge of a place that they can go to. And for that, I am truly grateful, because I didn't know that I needed a Unitarian Universalist Church until I needed a Unitarian Universalist Church. And it's home. It's like we look forward to going Sundays. We look forward to the cosmic walks. We look forward to breaking bread with people. And I feel like people think, oh, they don't understand that you can get that in a spiritual fulfillment there. So thank you all for that very much. And is there anything you would like to share? And good luck on your journey as you finish seminary, because if it's anything like most other programs, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of studying. So thank you all for doing that. But to the audience, before we sign off, is there anything you would like to share?
Probably just that every person has inherent worth and dignity. And there's a song that Trek introduced me to. The world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. So keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And Trek, do you have anything you would like to share?
I think the thing that I really want to share is that there is so much going on right now in the world. And it is so easy to become numb to it, to become depressed by it, to become overwhelmed, and so you just shut down. There are 1,000 Unitarian Universalist congregations scattered across 50 US states and the District of Columbia that are waiting for any person who needs this deep sense of community to show up, so that we can welcome them and help them see that their path is one of worth, one of holiness, and to show them how to walk that path with us, and to have them teach us how to walk their path with them. And we are waiting for you to come, because the world is exactly as it is right now, and we need each other.
Yeah, we need each other. And remember, folks out there, that we are holy, we are divine, and we belong in this universe. We were created to be a part of it, and I hope that you can find joy and kindness in it, and go love some people, go hug a tree. I'll say it, go hug a tree. I'm telling you, the forest does not care that you're transgender. It does not care anything about you other than you are there with it. And it is thankful you're there with it. And I am thankful that you all are here with us today. So do good in the world, be kind, and bye everybody.